Hello guys, Esther here and welcome to Orientation Hypercube. This is what the module looked like. If you know the module Orientation Cube, then this should be familiar to you, but I can admit it's slightly harder. Slightly might be an understatement, but effectively the goal of this module is the same as Orientation Cube, which is we need to get a certain orientation from an initial orientation. Before we start, let's explain how the system works. So we have this sort of like box thing here, and when you hover over each of the sections, you get shown the respective face or panel. The panel is this, and you get shown one of the 8 three-dimensional faces when you hover over each of these. For example, left and right are to be expected. Front and back to be expected if you're looking at it from here. We have bottom and top. If it's black, by the way, it won't actually show up. But then there's also zig, which is this middle cube, and zag, which is this outside cube. So, as you could also see when highlighting them, they turn different colours. This will be important in a second. So, we can also turn on colorblind mode by pressing the status light here. Now there's of course the buttons to rotate it. The two round arrows. The two round arrows will be from where you're looking. So in this case here, it will rotate the left face to be on the top to be the right, and so on. If you press clockwise, and then the other way if you press counterclockwise. Left and right will move the cube left or right, basically. So this front face here would move to the right, or the left if you press left. And then of course there's these two arrows, which is in and out, which will take this front face we have here and either push it into the small cube in the middle or pull it out to be the big cube around the outside. So, what orientation are we aiming for? This is where the colours come in. Before we start, there's also rotation preview mode. You press this middle button, which will place the observer staring directly at the module, and we'll show you what each of these motions does. For example, in, out, clockwise and counterclockwise, and then you can come out of it by pressing this button again. Do note though that after pressing buttons on here, you can't enter rotation preview mode. So let's now get the initial and final orientation. We're going to take because of the RGB components of the negative and positive sides of each axis in the order of X, Y, Z, W. So starting off with left and right, which will be these two, we have green and blue, which in RGB components is 010 and 001. The components being from this graph, or this Venn diagram even. Up next we have bottom top, which is the bottommost and the topmost panel buttons, which we have red and black, 10000. Then we have the innermost ones for front and back, cyan, magenta, 011, 101. And finally zig and zag, which is going to be the outermost left and right ones, which we have magenta and cyan, which is 010 and 011. Now we're going to read each column from top to bottom for each of them, the positive and the negatives, to generate 2 strings for each color RGB. So, first columns of the 2 sets we have are 010, 1 and 0010. Second is 1010, 001, and 0011, 101. Before we do anything with these, we might need to shift them around a little bit. Cycle the binary digits obtained from the negative face to the left by the number of batteries minus battery holders. 1 minus 1 is 0, so we're not going to be doing that. But that's referring to this left set here. Then for the right set, or the positive ones, we're going to cycle the digits to the right by the number of pots. We have 1, so cycling to the right. You get this. And then if any of the letters X, Y, Z, W are in the serial number, we do not have any of those, but if they were, we'd invert every bit in that position. So X would be the first column, Y would be the second, Z would be the third, W would be the fourth. The final number obtained from the faces corresponds to directions as follows. The first pair of bits for all of them will refer to the face, and whether or not the second set of digits match will say whether it's positive or negative. So this first one we can see here refers to Y, and the digits don't match, so it's going to be the negative version. Then this second one is going to be X, and they don't match, so that's going to be negative as well. Next one we have Z, don't match, minus. We have Z again, do match, plus. And then X match, plus. W don't match, minus. So in other words, we're aiming to get the bottom face to the left face. We're aiming to get the front to the back. And we're aiming to get the right face to the zig, or in the cube. Looking at what we currently have, right to zig is going to be the easiest starting point here, because we are currently looking at the right face. So we can actually just take the right face, and we're going to effectively push it into the middle cube. So we're going to press inwards. And pressing it, the observer may change. The only time it won't change is pressing left or right. I think that's weird. Let me just quickly check that. Yeah, except left or right, the observer might change where he's looking. So we now have the right face into the zig place. And for the most part, we can now ignore it. If we were pushing a zig or a zag face to the outside, then we will still have to consider it when doing other rotations. But since we are unlikely to touch the W direction anymore, or at least I'm not going to at this point, we can assume that the right face into zig is done now. But now we're aiming to get the bottom face, so whatever was here, which will still be there, I think. We need to get the bottom face to the left. You need to get the bottom face to the left, and we need to get the front face to the back. So starting with bottom to left, we can actually, I think, get there right now. Because if we look at it from here, we can just rotate counterclockwise to get the bottom to where the left face would be. So counterclockwise. And the observer didn't move. So we always need front to back, which hasn't moved since we've done anything. So effectively we can just press left or right twice to get that round to where we need it to be. Although, there's a reason we can't. If you notice though, since we're moving everything, if we did that, sure we'll get the back to the front to the back, but we've also moved the left face to the right now, so we can't do that. We need to find some other way to move this to here without disturbing this one. So preferably we would want to be on this side so we can just rotate it around like this. Fortunately we are not. So effectively I have to visualize it as sort of like a corner piece at this point. We have left and back, left and front even, attached to each other, and we're effectively rotating it round. So left and front becomes left and back. So if we rotate it to the left, we would move the left face to the back and the front face to the left. Is that what we're doing? We're looking at front and left, and we press left, the front moves to the left, and the left moves to the back here. So left moves to back, front moves to left. Now we can hopefully press either of these buttons twice to flip it all the way around. But there's a chance it might move the observer again. If so, we will need to figure something out again. So, okay, we got to be able to do it. So now what we want at the front is now on the right, and the left is now at the back. So now pressing right here will move. We now have the back where we need it to be and the left back on the left. So hopefully, if we've done this right, we press set. And we get a self module. So that was orientation Hypercube. It's sort of similar to orientation cube. You just have to focus on, of course, more faces, and you actually have to focus on 3 separate things that you need to get into the right place, rather than just the one. This one was a pretty decent example of showing off some stuff. Like, you had to keep in considering every face that you will be moving with other moves, which is why if you can move any W stuff to where it needs to be, if you select 2W, you can effectively just ignore it from that point on. But if you're moving something out of a W into X, Y, or Z, be sure to consider it when you're moving stuff around afterwards. Of course, there are some sanity check things you can have for this. Like if you get 2 moves that seem to contradict each other, like getting bomb to move to left, but then also bottom to move to somewhere else, then you've got something wrong, basically. You should have different faces going to and from. Anyway, I don't think there's much else I need to say, other than on a strike, pressing set or the center panel button, okay, the one that's due to rotating preview mode, return the module back to its initial state with the tesseract orientation reset and the target orientation being the same because it hasn't changed. Other than that, hopefully you now understand how orientation Hypercube works. I might have missed a few things, but hopefully this at least gives you an idea of how the module works. And I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. I'll see you later.